Like for us, people over 30 that are wanting to lose fat and build muscle and develop those habits where they haven't had that in the past, they struggle with time management. So we talk a lot about workouts. We talk a lot about form because a lot of these people, again, don't have the knowledge when it comes to proper form. So, if they struggle with time for workouts, here's a workout that you can do. If you have access to the workout, that's great. If you don't know what this movement is, here is it. Like, here's the movement and here's how you perform it.
What would be some of the advice that you would give them?
Do your research, really, is what it is. Because I think the longer that you are a coach, the harder it is to remove yourself from that mindset. So if you cannot remove yourself and think like, what are they struggling with? Then do your research, talk to people. If you were to go into ChatGPT, if you didn't want to do the legwork yourself, like go into ChatGPT and type in, this is the type of person I want to help, and be as specific or as generalized as you can be at that moment. Give me 5 to 10 pain points that they have.
Hello and welcome back to PA Chalk Up. Today we have Sam. Hi Sam, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. So if you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and how you got here.
So my name is Sam, obviously. I was a fitness and nutrition coach for almost 10 years, and then kind of got into a space where coaching was not for me anymore. So I was really lucky to work with a great company that allowed me to kind of transition into some of my other skills, which is content and design and things like that. So now I work for the same company. It's called Hidden Summit. We do fitness and nutrition coaching all online. But now I'm a content admin. So I take care of the Instagram page and all of our graphics, all of our stories, some of our website stuff. That's where I'm at now. So same but different.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you reached out and we started having a conversation was that obviously social media is such a big thing right now, and essentially all the good coaches are on social media and are constantly posting out. What are some of the trends that you've seen happen and how have you sort of adapted to that?
I think especially like when I had started online coaching, it was a big thing to show off like how smart you were, which is not a bad thing to do. But so often I think we get into that space of ego where it's like, I want to show you just how smart I am and all the knowledge that I have. And you forget that you're speaking to people that really don't give a like the knowledge that you have on different amino acid profiles. Like people don't know what to eat for breakfast. So you see that a lot, and that's fine if that's your demographic. If that's who you're speaking to is higher level athletes that need to know that information or are interested in that kind of information. But for most people, they just want somebody that they can connect with and somebody that has at least the knowledge to help them get started. So I think making that transition of like posting out of ego and like, look at how great I am, look at how smart I am, look at how fit I am, look at how hard I work out, but bringing it down to a level that more people can resonate with and more people can understand. I think that's been the biggest shift that I have started to notice and that I've started to kind of implement.
Yeah. What sort of things do you implement to differ away from that?
It's taking it down to like the most basic level. And again, in order to do that, you have to think of it more strategically. Like social media is fun and it can be really fun, but if you're trying to run a business or you're trying to get connections or you're trying to get leads and clients from social media, you can't just post whatever you want. You have to have a little bit of strategy behind it. So knowing exactly who you want to talk to is the most important thing. Like, if you had an ideal client, who would that person be? And writing from a place of every caption should be written as if you're talking to that person. And that makes a huge difference just off the start. If you only did that, that would help.
Yeah. So what are some of the strategies that you would implement or recommend people to start posting and start getting into a space where people can follow them and start really talking to their desired customer?
It all starts just from the creation. So when you're going to post content, think of the person that you have in mind that you want to work with, and then break it down to like, what is this person struggling with? Like, this is the person that I want to help. What issues are they having? What are their pain points that they struggle with? And write from that. So like for us, people over 30 that are wanting to lose fat and build muscle and develop those habits where they haven't had that in the past, they struggle with time management. They struggle with not knowing exactly what it is they should eat. They struggle with getting in a workout in a timely fashion that's still hard enough to get them results, but it's something that they can do and scale as they progress.
Mm.
So I'm focusing on like our programming that we have that's available to everybody. It's called S5. We have that available. So we talk a lot about workouts. We talk a lot about form because a lot of these people, again, don't have the knowledge when it comes to proper form. So you can give them a workout plan, but if they don't know how to do the movement correctly, if they don't have the proper form, they're not getting what they need out of it. So it's breaking that, taking that pain point, taking that issue and breaking it down as far as possible. So, if they struggle with time for workouts, here's a workout that you can do. If you have access to the workout, that's great. If you don't know what this movement is, here is it. Like, here's the movement and here's how you
Mm.
perform it. And from there, like, that's how I like to structure, or how I've started to structure kind of the content is this is the direction that we're moving in so that we can hit those pain points. And then when people come to the page and they can resonate with post after post after post, like, oh, I didn't know that, or oh, that makes so much more sense, or
Mm.
thank you for posting that. That's how you bring in more of the people that you are trying to help.
If we go back to some of like the starting point, how would you start to identify like who your ideal customer is, and then how would you start to build out that sort of script in a sense?
That's more like, that's very like individualized, and it just takes sitting down and really thinking. Like, that's another thing that I think is pretty universal. Like, as coaches, like, we want to help everybody.
Mm.
And you can say that, and that's great because we do. We want to help everybody and we have the knowledge to help everybody because we have these different skill sets. However, in an ideal world, like if you were to walk into work one day or walk into the gym knowing that you had a specific client that you were going to train, what qualities do they have? What age are they? Are they male or female? Are they married or single? What? And it's just breaking it down to be as specific as you can to kind of hit that demographic as closely as possible. And that's, again, dependent upon who you want to work with. Like, I personally like people that like to build muscle, and I like women that are like 25 to 30 because I resonate with them more. You probably don't resonate as much with like 25 to 30-year-old women that just like, but everybody has their preferences and everybody has different skill sets. And it's um, like there are worksheets that you can do to help break that down and things like that. But honestly, I think just asking the question, like, who really do I want to work with? Who would be the best
Mm.
person that I would want to work with? And even if it starts with a general idea, start with a general idea and get closer as you continue to post.
How would you recommend that refinement process to be like?
That comes more from experience of like working with different types of people. So, and it comes from, I think, conversations too that you have with people. Again, a conversation with a 21-year-old is going to be different than a conversation with a 34-year-old. So it's like, who do you have an easier time connecting with?
Mm.
Who is it that you want to surround yourself with, I guess is a better way to put that. And that just comes from experience. So again, if you're just starting out and you're not really sure, have a general idea. And as you post and as you have more clients and as you have more conversations, you start to kind of build that layer by layer of this is exactly who I want to work with.
I mean, with the whole social media aspect of coaching and what we do, it's kind of hard to unless you're already like in your niche from the start. So say like you're at Division 1 college and you've already got your key participants and you know exactly who you're targeting. That process can be a little bit hard to figure out who it is that you want to speak to, what it is that you want to sort of talk about. What are some of the pains that you had to go through to come up with like your ideal audience?
For us, like our target audience, that came more from leadership. So like the owner
Mm.
Kevin and his brother Derek and our leadership team had to narrow it because it was for a long time just like we want to help everybody because Hidden Summit really started, I guess, really grew in the pandemic, right? It started as an idea and just a short while later the pandemic happened. So it went from this great idea of a coaching company to now like we have to be an online coaching company. So it was open to everybody that just needed the community, they needed the workouts, they needed the support, whatever it may be. So for a long time, it was just everybody. And we went through seasons like everybody does and like every business does, trying to kind of find exactly where we wanted to be. And again, that just comes from experience and all of the clients that we have gone through and all the clients that we have helped. And of course, everybody that comes in, we're there to help and we're there to support and we're there to
Mm,
get them the results. That's the goal. But, and there's nothing wrong with it, but you see as you go through those phases who it is you like to work with, who it is
yeah,
you prefer to work with. So for us, it was just really trial and error and going through the clients. And, we helped everybody and it was amazing. But now we're at a point where it's like, okay, we have gone through enough clients. Like we have our numbers, we know what works for us. This is the type of person that we want to work with from here on out. We're still going to help
yeah.
everybody that comes through the door, but ideally, this is who we're targeting.
How has your previous experience with coaching and nutrition helped you with now this side of the industry?
I think only because I understand the content that I'm posting, honestly.
Mm,
Because again, when I was doing this by myself, before I had ever come to Hidden Summit, I was doing online coaching just freelance by myself. So I didn't have any marketing team or like anybody to give me any leads. So for me, you can see my social media is still not great. For me, it was like I was very much in that ego space of like, look at how smart I am and look at how many certifications
mm,
I have. And I'm very much one of those people that's like, if I'm going to know something, I'm going to know how to do it really, really well. So I have, two or three different nutrition certifications, and I have, program design and Olympic lifting and personal training. I want to know all of the things. So I posted that as much as I could. Like, look at how
mm,
smart I am. Look at the workouts that I'm doing because they're really hard because I am at that level where I can do these workouts. And I was wondering like why I wasn't bringing in any of the people that I could actually help because my content did not resonate. So, more than anything, it helps knowing number one, that I know the content, but number two, knowing what not to post now. Now it's very
yeah.
much like that ego posting doesn't do anybody any good. So, let's try something new and break it down.
With some of the trends that you've seen, and obviously you've mentioned that a lot of it comes from ego, and you essentially want to assert yourself within that niche or within that industry. What are some of the mistakes that you've seen, and how would you recommend that particular coach or trainer come out on the other end of it?
Um, Again, if your demographic is higher level athletes or people that have been in this space for a while and just need the support or whatever it may be, that's great. But if your target is more general population, like average Joe, soccer mom Susie, whatever it may be, um, there's no need to like say, hey, I've been too smart, so now I'm going to dumb it down for you. Because again, that
Mm,
makes you look like an asshole. But on the other side of things, right? Like if you're just giving all of this knowledge that nobody cares about, like again, you're showboating and nobody gives a shit. So it comes from just, you don't have to say like, hey, I'm going to dumb this down for you. But it's just that little switch of, you know, again, people are so caught up in what they're doing and they consume so much content every day. Not to say that nobody's going to notice that your content has
mm,
changed, but as you continue to get better at it, people are going to notice in a good way. They're going to notice that they understand more of what you're posting. And it's really it all it takes is just that little switch of saying like, not posting because I want to post this because I want you to see how smart I am, but I'm posting this because I want to help you and this is information that you might need.
yeah, like I think when we first started speaking, like I started realizing a lot of some of the mistakes I've been making was that again I I love strength and conditioning for what it is, but a lot of the topics that I feel don't get covered enough is like the whole nutritional side of strength and conditioning and performance and just being in the gym. Like I think everyone has been sold supplements so hard that everyone needs to be on supplements to make sure that they're achieving their ideal body. But they're also not, what's not being talked about in a sense is that they're supplements. Like it's a supplementation. Like if you ordinarily get enough of that, you don't need to supplement it.
Mhm.
protein is a big one. So I only have protein supplements when I'm lacking protein for that day or week. I, creatine is the exact same. Like I get enough creatine from the food I eat. Like a steak still has creatine.
Hmm.
Like there's foods that you get these supplements from, but just because you're adding into a scoop, you're getting extra. Like yes, but like one of my lecturers said it the best way is like any type of supplements that you're getting or buying and using that you already eat enough of, that's called expensive piss, which is you're peeing it out.
Yeah.
So there's this thing. So for when I was started posting and when I started like really making content, and you can go back on my pages and you can find that stuff. And it's like, what is creatine? Best creatine supplements, monohydrate. And then I just like gave an explanation on it. How many times has that been done? So for me, it was really interesting to sort of get that perspective of you and like, yeah, it's cool to have knowledge and demonstrate it, but does it actually mean anything?
Yeah. And I was actually thinking about it this morning because there's a couple people that I follow. What's his name? Like Monroe Miller, something to that effect. I don't know. But he's one that does a lot of like form checks for Olympic lifting, which is something that I'm interested in. And again, he is for higher level athletes. So I follow him because I enjoy his content. People that are just starting out, or even, people that are not trying to lose weight yet or wanting to lose weight but don't know how, are not going to resonate with his content because to them, that is so far out of their reach that it doesn't make any sense. So, like, the goal is not just to post content that everybody can digest, but it's to post content that the people you want to help can understand. So, yeah,
Yeah,
some people do better with supplements because, like, that's
their
their
niche.
thing. Yeah. But again, for a lot of people, you're not going to find your audience. Like, again, it's showboating. It's like, look at how smart I am, look at how much knowledge I have. I can help you, but I'm not showing that.
Yeah. I mean, if there was some advice that you would give like people to start really making that switch into what more that they want to actually focus in and creating that good content that they enjoy doing and that it speaks to the people that they want to speak to, what would be some of the advice that you would give them?
Do your research, really, is what it is, because I think the longer that you are a coach, the harder it is to remove yourself
Mm,
from that mindset, right? Because, like, this is like our life. Like, we think about our nutrition and we think about our fitness and we think about our movement all day long for days and days and days on it. Anybody else has probably not thought about their workout
hmm.
in the years, if ever, right? Like, so that's not in our mind anymore to not think about that. So if you cannot remove yourself and think, like, what are they struggling with, then do your research, talk to people. And I mean, chat GPT is great. And it's a great place to start too. Like, if you were to go into chat GPT, if you didn't want to do the legwork yourself, like, go into chat GPT and type in, this is the type of person I want to help, and be as specific or as
Mm,
generalized as you can be at that moment. The more specific, obviously, the better. But if you're just generalized, like, I want to help people 20 to 45 lose weight and feel good about themselves. That's technically an audience. Type that into ChatGPT and say, this is my audience. Give me 5 to 10 pain points that they have that I can
mm,
build content off of. And it will give you research backed answers to say, this is your audience and these are things that they might be struggling with. So, they don't have proper knowledge, right? Or they don't know how to do form, things like that. Then from there, I mean, if you want to build your content off of that just throughout your brain, that's great. If you want to save time, break it down further and say, okay, chat GPT, like, these are my pain points. Break each pain point down 3 or 4 more times into different topics. And then
yeah.
once you do that, use those topics for as long as you need to, but at some point, you should be able to take those and tweak those and build that by yourself. But if you're starting out and you don't have the wherewithal or the want to do the research by yourself, right? And that's all ChatGPT is. It's like Google on steroids. Like, it's going to give you the answers without having to search for yourself. So that's that would be probably my first step, is to do your research and figure out exactly what your people are struggling with and break that down as far as possible. So, like, for us, nutrition, not knowing what to eat is a huge pain point for our audience. So breaking that down further, it's, they don't know how much protein they should have. They don't know why protein is important.
Mm.
They're not comfortable with macros, or they're only comfortable counting calories and they don't know the benefits of macros. So those are things that we talk about either in the DMs, in conversations on Instagram, during our calls, and as I'm building out our content, again, because we've gone through a lot of stages. So as I am working through this, we have a calendar specifically, like, these are our nutrition topics. We're going to talk about, this is what you can have for breakfast. These are meals that you can have. These are recipes that we have in our Facebook group that are available to you, so that we are hitting that pain point in as many ways as possible to help them, and then so that they can resonate and come back and find more information, because that's how you build relationships. And again, I think that's a point to make too, is social media is not just to show yourself off. So when you're creating content, you can't think of it of, I want them to see me this way, but more of, I need to bring value and here's how I'm doing it.
Yeah. What would be some of the strategies that you would implement for like posting schedules?
One reel a day is very helpful. And again, it's so random because I will give really great value and get 200 likes. And there was a video that I did with a trending sound, and it still gave value, but it was like a 5-second video of Brooke, one of our coaches, putting food onto a platter. And that has almost 8,000 views right now. So I have not yet figured out the rhyme or reason behind it. But post as often as you can in as many different formats. So carousels, static, and reels as often as you can. Again, not everybody has the time to post 2 to 3 times a day, but if you're posting right now 3 times a week, bump it to 3 to 5, and just gradually increase. And again, you can find your analytics in Instagram to see when your followers are online and when they're engaging, so that you can follow that more closely. But that's more individualized. But again, just post as often as you can. Hashtags, while they are not as useful as they used to be, definitely still hold a little bit of weight. But that's just post. That's all that you can do.
Yeah.
And
That's
post and
actually,
engage.
yeah, that's actually something I've sort of been thinking about with, not on purpose, I will admit. These podcasts, the past sort of 2 weeks, they've been a little bit sporadic because I've been traveling and I've had different things come up, so I've not been able to schedule the posts when I usually schedule them. But I've actually seen more engagement on Instagram posts, LinkedIn, and for me, it's I tried so hard up until this point to be so previously all my podcasts came out at 5 a.m. GMT time, which is 5 in the morning. In my head, it was a Google thing. I Googled when the best time for the Spotify algorithm is, or best time for the YouTube algorithm is. So I did exactly what they said, but I'm actually noticing I get a lot better engagement towards 8 p.m. at night or 9 p.m. at night, my time. So for me, it's more then who do I listen to? Because Google is telling me this thing based on the statistics that are out there, but I've actually saw that 8 to 9 p.m. is a better time for me, and partly I've been trying to rationalize why that might be. And the thing to me is people are finally settling down, and with our jobs, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. we're working, hustling, and by the time you get home, have dinner, shower, do whatever, spend time with the kids, you're down at 8 9 p.m. And then for me, I'm just that's fascinating because there's so much data behind posting times and all that stuff, but it's actually I found something completely different.
Yeah, same thing for us, because I do the our YouTube shorts and our TikTok too, So I'm posting on there 2 to 3 times a day. And it's the same thing. When I started, I Googled when is the best time to post these? And as we've gone through months of trial and error and how many times we post, it's insane. Google will tell you to post on YouTube shorts 3 times a day. Well, if I post more than once on our YouTube shorts, our engagement goes absolutely down the drain. and like our podcast clips. When I post our podcast clips on YouTube, they get garbage engagement, just awful. But if I post a video of Kevin working out, it's like 8,000 views, you know? So it's, but
He
on
is a good
TikTok, our
looking man.
podcast, you should see some of the comments on his page. It's, if you ever have a minute and you just want to laugh at like the audacity of some grown men, not even women, it's grown men. It'll make you
I
laugh.
will
But
do
again,
this on the what to do list.
but our podcast clips do really well on TikTok, whereas they do garbage on YouTube Shorts, which is funny because that's where a lot of our like long form podcast videos go. But anyways, it just comes down to trial and error. But you don't know until you know. So if you
Yeah.
don't start posting and figuring it out, then it's never gonna get anywhere.
Yeah. Like that's the thing I've been struggling. Obviously, I do this solo, so it's just me behind everything that happens.
Yeah.
Having time to like post on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, like I can spend the whole day just doing that and like trying to engage and all that things. What would be some of the sort of recommendations, or in a sense, what would you say would be the best way to tackle this? Because again, if you like opt out for like scheduling platforms, I've never had much engagement when I've optimized everything. So then I have had to resort back to posting it myself, which then again leads me back to this. What were some of the strategies or recommendations that you'd give for someone that's doing this solo to maximize their posting potential?
Pick one. You can't be great at everything, but if you're really great on one platform, master that before you move on to the next. Like we had our YouTube a very long time ago. And Kevin's personal Instagram, like if you pull his up, he's had his for like 9 years, right? So he's got a backlog of content. So because he mastered that, it made it really easy. He got engaged yesterday.
Oh, congrats
Yesterday.
to Gav.
Yeah, he's in Paris right now. Which is why like I have so much free time right now because I don't have anything for him to do. But he had that backlog of content already, so it made it really easy to pull from that and post that to YouTube Shorts when like that started to become a thing. And then again, like he was posting to his TikTok because he had that content from Instagram. So we had that content when I came in, like there was already a stock of things that I could start to post.
Yeah.
So once I got that done and down and a schedule of like, this is when I schedule content, like these are the videos that I'm picking, create the captions, schedule it out for the next week, like set it and forget it. I don't have to think about it again. And then at that point, all I have to do is go in and check the comments throughout the week, which is not as much of an issue, right? So mastering that first is why I've taken so much extra time to figure out Instagram, because for a long time there, it was really just like post and pray kind of thing. Like I'm going to put out this content and we're going to see how it does because I don't really know. And there was no direction. For a long time, our Instagram page was like not a priority. Again, because Kevin's Instagram is so popular, like, and he gets all these views. So it's really easy for him to convert because he's already big enough. But like for our coaches, because they're smaller, when they come in or people come to our coaches pages and they see Hidden Summit and they go to the Hidden Summit page, I didn't want it to look like trash pretty much. Like that's yeah, because like our coaches, our coaches are great, but if they're coming into the company to be coached, I don't want them to go to the company Instagram page and be like, well, this is shit, like why would I do that? So once I was comfortable enough scheduling those out and seeing how those performed, I was able to start like putting together a calendar and like these are the topics that we're going on. And it again, I am not the best. I still have a lot of things to figure out, but I have had the better part of the last year to really trial and error and figure it out. And that's where I came to like, again, this strategy of like, this is the audience, this is their pain points broken down, and now I know what to post. Because that was definitely not the strategy when I came into it.
Obviously, you've had experience in this industry, and apart from the sort of, you obviously understand the concepts that you're putting out and understanding the content. What are some of the other benefits that you found between being in industry, knowing what happens, and like now doing the social media side of the industry?
Well, for like selfishly, it took a whole lot of pressure off of me. I think just like physically, because again, as a coach, and especially as an online coach, like it's so important to be able to like showcase the results that you can get, and that starts with you, right? So, if your body is your billboard, like I was exhausted
Mm-hmm.
trying to look a certain way for so long. So going into the social media side really took a lot of pressure off of me. Again, it was like selfishly, but not having to like push so hard on my body because I was definitely burnt out. Like I was not good anymore. So
Yeah.
um like that was a benefit just like personally for me moving over to social media. But I think as far as like the knowledge that I have, it makes it a lot easier to create content. Again, like just understanding, and once you have that research and once you have the backing of like, again, going back to these are the issues that they're having. Like if I were talking to one of my clients, and that again, that comes from experience. If I were talking to one of my clients and they came to me like with this question, like, "Hey, I'm struggling to hit all my protein." Like I
Mm.
know how to handle that conversation. And if I can handle that conversation, I can put that information into a post and I can share that so that more people that have that issue can understand it. And then again, I think that comes back to being able to articulate the knowledge that you have, which we talked about that before. It's one thing to be really smart, but it's another thing to be really smart and be able to explain that in a way that people can understand it. You have to approach it from like, how would I explain this to a client? So it's an easy concept, but you still have to be a good coach. And for me, being a good
Mm.
coach means being able to explain those things without making somebody feel stupid or making them feel bad for asking a question, right? Like if to me, you are not a good coach if your clients don't feel comfortable coming and asking questions.
Mm.
Or if they ask a question and their eyes glaze over and they have no idea what you're talking about, you're not a good coach.
I think
So
I've mentioned this to you before, and it was that thing where if a client or an athlete comes to me and is like, "I know you've just went over this, but I still don't know what I'm doing." I always make sure to be like, "That's not your fault.
yeah,
That's the way I'm explaining it.
yeah.
I'm explaining it in a way that you're not understanding, so that's on me. It's not that
Mhm.
you're stupid or dumb. It's that I've not explained myself right." So I'll then look at different ways that I can explain to them how to do a certain movement. Like for
Mhm.
me, I use key like cues for everything that an athlete does. So like if we're squatting and their knees are coming in, I'm like, okay, let's pretend we've got carpet underneath our feet, and as we come up, we're pulling that carpet apart. That drives the knees outwards, and that for them is a good cue to be like, okay, as soon as I come up, pull the carpet apart.
Mhm.
So I think you're absolutely right. It's like when you're coaching people and making them feel, in a sense, inferior for asking certain questions, I think you failed as a coach right there and then.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a huge thing too. Is taking ownership and accountability. Like if you're not understanding it, it's not because you're dumb, but it's because I didn't explain it in a way that made sense to you. It's like, so let's take it back and try it again. Um, and so that it stems from just being a good coach and being able to explain what you're talking about. So like that's the first level. It's just knowing how to explain it, and from there, it's breaking it down into like, even if you were to just take a picture of yourself doing whatever, as long as that caption breaks that down, and again, then
Mm,
you get into like hooks and getting their attention and retaining their attention and things like that. But again, that all comes with practice, and you
mm,
can't get any better if you don't start. So just start by explaining it. Like if you were to get on a phone call with a client and they had a question, write out how you would answer that question. And once you have that written out, then you can tweak it for social media as little or as much as you need to be able
mhm.
to post it.
So what are your descriptions like do's and do nots?
Always use the word you when you're talking. You
Mm,
see like influencers or things like that. Like, you guys asked me this, or you guys might be having this issue. And that removes that sense of connection. Because it's like, you guys, there's a
Mm-hmm.
whole bunch of people, whether it's like, I am talking to you directly. You are having an issue hitting your protein. This is how,
Yeah.
yeah. Or like, this is, if you're struggling to do this, this is how I would approach it. So then it's a one-on-one connection.
Yeah. What's your take on like avoid making this mistake? Avoid doing this.
It's actually um, scientifically proven that people resonate more with negative experiences than they do with positive. It's a thing to do in your brain.
Mm.
Yeah, it was a very interesting psychology course on, like, I can't remember what it's called now, but there's a part of your brain that more frequently prefers to drive towards negative experiences. So if you come at it that you are making this mistake, people are automatically drawn to that content. It's not a bad thing to post.
Mm. Okay.
It's not something that you want to post all of the time, right? Because then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
then you're just negative.
Negative
However,
Nancy. Yeah.
yeah, but if you come at it like, you're making this mistake eating your protein, or you're making this mistake doing your deadlifts, people are drawn to that content. As long as you follow it up with, this is how you fix it.
Mm.
That's a good post. People are going to resonate with that.
But we were going back and forward with social media content and how he approaches it. And like for him, he doesn't like the avoid making these mistakes kind of posts because for him it's like, and I get it, I do get it, and I kind of agree with it. But whereas for him, it's like I don't want any type of negative movement associated with what I do because for
Mm-hmm.
him it's all about challenging that movement to better itself or to constantly drive these performance peaks. So for him, it's like anything negative might defer the the idea that I want to put out there, so he doesn't do it at all. Which that made sense to me. But then I'm also very science driven, and I'd be very curious to read that paper as well.
Yeah, I'll have to find it. It was part of my last psychology course. It was really interesting. Um, and that makes sense, that to not have anything negative associated. But again, that's if that's his audience,
Mm,
that makes sense for him. For us, a lot of our people are making those mistakes. Like, say, if we're talking about a deadlift, and you're making these mistakes, I want you to stop that right now. But I'm going to follow it up with, this is how you do it properly. So if you see this and you're doing X, Y, and Z, you're not optimizing that movement. So
mm,
let's figure out how you can do it properly.
100%. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I suppose it's like again back to the target audience and how you and who you are speaking to. Yeah. With the analytics part, what are some of the things that you read a lot into and some things that you maybe just ignore?
Um, Followers are it's nice to go on somebody's page and see a lot of followers. Like, everybody wants to see a lot of followers, right? Um, However, for me, it is not something that I am so stuck on anymore.
Mm,
And we've been steadily gaining, and then we'll lose some, and then we'll gain some again. Um, but followers are just people that are coming back to see your content, and that's great. What's more important is people that are engaging, um, people that are saving, people that are commenting, comments like, this was so helpful, or like, these are great ideas. Because it's easy to click the follow button,
mm,
but it's more important how many people are engaging. Like, if you go on Instagram, you can see specifically, of your followers. Like, for us, again, we focus on people over 30. So how many of our followers are over 30 right now? That's something that I want to look at.
mm,
That's something that I want to see grow. Trying to get more men into our ecosystem, because we focus a lot on women, but we know that there are also a lot of men that are struggling, that are just too stubborn because they're a man to reach out for help, right? So, like, is our
yeah.
content is our content kind of pushing more towards that, or is there something that I can change to lean more towards men to get them into the ecosystem? Um, External link taps is a big one, because I don't know how
Mm,
many times, and I'm sure that you've done it too, is you see a post and then you go to that page, and if you're interested, you click on that link, whether or not you
mm,
follow them. I've done that. I don't know how many times is I'll go to the link and I will buy something without ever following that page.
Mm,
So that's another one that I like to look at. And then again, like posting times, um, where they're coming from is not as important to me. But I'd say the big ones is really that engagement, and reach too is up there only because if we have the best content in the world and nobody sees it, then it's not doing anybody any good. So
yeah.
that's another way, like how this content isn't reaching as many people. What can I do next time so that this great content that we have from our like experienced, knowledgeable staff, how can that be shown to more people?
Yeah, that makes sense. What are some of like the things that irritate you with social media and how people use it?
I think a lot of people take to social media to show off, right? Which we've talked
Mm.
about, and that's great. There are also like a lot of thirst traps, just like for the fun of it.
Fun fact, I knew that's what you were going to say.
Trying to put that like in the best way possible, but
Mhm.
like again, and to each their own. Um,
RDLs are my fucking. I love the exercise, but it gets used in a way that I'm not a big fan of.
yeah, and like, and I've seen like those memes of like, when women have a really great arm day, and then the picture that they post is
Yeah.
like you didn't work that part. I'm pretty sure. Like I've done this for a minute. I don't think that's what happened. Um, but yeah, and it's just one thing that I do love though is like maybe it's just because the content that I engage with, but you see
Mm.
more of like, um, you know, I think fitness got a really bad rep for a long time because people are so not obsessed, but we care about the way that we look,
Yeah.
which is not a bad thing in itself. Um, but it got a really bad reputation for just being self-centered and this, that, and the other. And now you're seeing more of like, I go to the gym for X, Y, and Z reasons, like this is the 1 hour a day that I have peace, or I do this
Mm.
because, I felt weak for so long and now I want to feel strong. And that's, everybody has their own story, but like for me personally, I resonate with that. Like, yeah, I wanted to look good naked, like everybody does when they start working out. However, I also was dealing with an eating disorder and an abusive relationship, and I had a lot of trauma as a kid. So going into the gym and being able to finally feel strong was huge for me. So I kept doing it because it made me feel strong and not because I was obsessed with the way that I look. And I think you're seeing more of that now of people coming out and showing that, like, yeah, like bikini competitors or bodybuilders, things like that, they look great, but they're still human beings that struggle with these things.
It's not that it makes the situation better, but for at least like the hour or two that you're in there, it's like you're escaping. Like I certainly know from my childhood, like the gym was a big part because I could escape from things that were happening, from different like situations I was involved in as well. It was like I'll go into the gym and like it's like those four walls are just where I am and that's the space that I'm being. Is that something that's sort of continued along your way where it's like you transition from that it's my safe space, now I'm a coach, I'm helping people, to then sort of making sure that you're creating content for people to feel safe in that environment.
Definitely, yeah. And that's a huge part of the culture at Hidden Summit anyways, is feeling like you belong, right? And
Mm.
having that community. But it definitely was, exactly like you said. I started the gym for myself, and then I started coaching because I wanted other people to be able to feel good. And now on the other side of things, the people that we bring in, I want them to know that you're not dumb because you don't know these things, or like
Yeah.
if you're going through something, like the biggest thing is, and this is a completely opposite side of it, or a different perspective, I guess, but like if you look at some of the most successful people, or the 5 people that you look up to the most, the majority of them take a huge chunk of their time to make sure that they are healthy. And that's just a testament to when you're healthy and when you're taking care of yourself, everything can get better because you're putting in that time. At the end of the day, all you have is you. Like, we have our family and we have those relationships and those are great. However, your relationship with your best friend or with your mom at the end of the day is not going to save your life if you're not healthy.
100%.
And
Yeah.
it goes with your mindset too. You know, if you feel like shit about yourself, everything is harder. From personal
Mhm.
experience, I can tell you it's so much harder.
No, I'd 100% agree. And it's like, I think I try and provide that for athletes that I work with. It's like, it's not, I don't care about your athletic ability more than I care about your personal situations. Like, the first questions I will always ask, like, I'll give them a fist bump and I'm like, how are you? How was your day? Or like, how was your week? Or whatever that may be. But like, for me, it's more like, are you okay today? And how can I help you with this session? And even like when they fail, I'm very quick to be like, okay, we failed, fine. How many times have you lost? How many times have you won? Does
Mhm.
this one fail matter? No.
Yeah.
So it's more about creating that environment where people feel safe to come in and speak, and not just like, fuck, I'm going to piss off coach because I failed this set. I don't give a
Yeah.
shit. Like, if you're in here and you're performing, sick. If you come in and you have an off day, sick. Let's talk
Mhm.
about it. Like, I've got an athlete just now who he works as well as his sport, and like his job is a manual job, so he has to constantly like there's a lot of long days that he has, and like he'll come in exhausted one day, and I'm just like, one of those days, and he's like, yep. I'm like, cool, let's just get through the session. And it's like providing that ability to not make them feel like they have to perform every single time. Like, it's okay
Yeah.
to fail.
Yeah. The two things that I would say to every client that I had our first call was that I never expect you to be perfect, but I expect you to show up. And along with that is, we talk a lot about being 1% better every day. And that does not mean that like you're going to be at 100% and then the next day we're going to be at 101 and you're just going to continue to push that and get better. What it means is one day you're going to be at 100% and you're going to give everything you got and it's going to be a great fucking day. But the next week you might have a day where you're operating at 2%. But if you can show up and give me that 2%, that was a 100% day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it
100%.
yeah, it's along the same lines of just, I don't expect you to do anything other than show up. And if you're showing up, then we can get better.
That's my whole thing as well. Is like, we'll just keep making that one session the best it can be. Like, there's a lot of times that athletes fail, and I'm just like, let's talk about it. Let's
Yeah.
figure out why. If it's a technical thing, easy. If it's more of a like a complex subject that there's a lot going on in your head, then let's talk about it. But let's also figure out a solution to make you go through that the most effective as possible. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what a lot of coaches miss, is that human ability to coach someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Without that empathy and being able to say, again, in my mind, if I am your coach and you're coming to me with a problem, that's fine to have a problem. Everybody has problems. But at the end of this conversation, we have a plan. If we don't have a solution, then we have a plan to get to a
Mm,
solution.
100%.
Whatever it may be.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Thank you so much for coming on and sort of giving your side of the industry, because there's so much that goes into this industry as well that you'll sometimes overlook different aspects. And because social media is so prevalent now, it's good to have someone that's really got both sides of the story to come in and talk about it. If you want to plug your Instagram or anything else that you've got going on.
Yeah. So my personal is at Sammy Norman Fit, SAMMI Norman Fit. There's not a lot to it. I'll admit I'm not very good. If I post anymore, it's not a whole lot. And then the Hidden Summit page is at Hidden Summit _, which is where I am pretty much every single day. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, and peace.